ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमम् देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। Jai Gurudev. So yesterday we saw this, the 18th verse. Antavanta ime deha nityasyoktha sharirinaha anashino prameyasya tasmadyudhyasva bharata. Anashinaha of the indestructible, aprameyasya of that which is not available as an object of knowledge, nityasya of that which is not subject to change, eternal, sharirinaha of the embodied one, the self, ime, these, dehaha, bodies, antavantaha, subject to end, uktaha are said. Tasmat, therefore, Bharata, O descendant of Bharata, Arjuna, Yudhyasva, fight. So, Anashinaha Aprameyasya Nityasya Sharirinaha Ime Dehaha Antavantaha Uktaha Tasmat Bharata Yudhyasva. These bodies of the embodied one, that is the self, which is not subject to change, which is indestructible, and which is not available as an object of knowledge, are said to be subject to end. Therefore, O descendant of Bharata, fight. Krishna unfolded the Satvastu, showing that no one can destroy this Atma, including Ishvara, because it is indestructible and itself sustains everything. Now, what about the Asat? Krishna unfolded the Satvastu, showing that no one can destroy this Atma, including Ishvara, because it is indestructible and itself sustains everything. Now, what about the Asat? If Sat is indestructible and pervades everything, and if everything depends upon the Sat, does that which depends upon the Sat not become as true as the Sat? Is it not said that you acquire the same qualities as the company you keep? Is it not also true that if you string roses and then remove them, the string will continue to smell like roses because of its previous association with them? Similarly, here, since The Asat is always with the Sat. Is there not some kind of attribute transference because of this association? And then, will not the Asat gain the same attribute of being indestructible? No, because there is no association. The string is different from the rose, but both enjoy the same empirical reality. What we call string has a certain empirical reality, as does the rose. Both of them enjoy the same degree of reality, and therefore one can lend its attributes to the other because association is possible between objects belonging to the same order of reality. Between the Sat and the Asat, however, such an association is not possible, just as it is not possible between the pot and clay. There is only one thing here, clay, which is Sat. Therefore, the Asat cannot gain indestructibility by association with the Sat. The physical body is mithya. When you say this is the body, what is it exactly? Is it the skeletal structure, the skin, the flesh, the marrow, blood, a given cell, or the DNA? There is no one thing that we call body. All this put together is the body. You can look at it in many different ways. You can look at it biologically or simply from the standpoint of being nothing but minerals, calcium, phosphorus, and so on. Because each component depends upon so many other things. The physical body is mithya. Or, if you take the body as a whole, it depends upon the five elements, according to the model in Vedanta. However, you look at it, the body is mithya. The physical body is a product created at a given time and is subject to modification. Because it has been created, it has an end. Antavat. Krishna, pointing out all the bodies standing before them, including his own, described them as Antavantaha. To whom do these bodies belong? The body, Sharira, is given existence and consciousness by Atma alone. Sat Vastu lends its existence equally to the physical body, Sthula Sharira, and to the subtle body, Sukshma Sharira. Because the subtle body can reflect consciousness, the body is conscious. Therefore, the Sharira belongs to and has its being in Atma, which is the indwelled of the body. Two words were used with reference to the physical body in this verse. Dehaha, ime dehaha, which is plural, and shariri, nityasya sharirinaha, which is singular. Nitya means eternal, that which is not subject to change, the one who indwells this body as Atma, the meaning of the word I. Because there is only one Atma, the singular Shariri is used, whereas with reference to all these bodies that undergo change and come to an end, the plural Dehaha is used. So, although Asat depends upon Sat and Sat is indestructible, Asat cannot be indestructible because of association, because there is no association between Sat and Asat. They are of two different orders of reality. Association can be there when they are of the same order of reality. That is, example is the rose and the string. They belong to the same order of reality. So there is an association. Association of the body and pain, mind and emotions, sense organs and all the sense perceptions. They're all of the same order of reality. So there is an association. But association between Asat and Sat, since there is no association, what the attributes of Sat cannot be the attributes of Asat. Therefore, only Sat is indestructible. Asat is not. And then we saw how the body is mithya because it depends on, it cannot exist independently of its own. What is it? It is something that is created in time. And anything that is created has an end. Plus, what do you call the body? Is it just the skin, outer skin? Is it the muscles? Is it the bones? Is it the mind? Is it the DNA? What is it? What is the body? So, all this put together is the body. So, each thing depends on the other. And therefore, by definition, it is mithya. Anything which depends upon anything else for its existence, we learned earlier, is called asat. And therefore, this is mithya. But to whom do these bodies belong? They belong to they are given existence and consciousness by Atma alone. So it is the Shariri, the Atma, the indweller of the body, the Sat Vastu, gives its lends its existence equally to the physical body as well as the subtle body, Sukshma and the Sthula and the Sukshma Sharira. There is only one Atma. The singular Shariri is used, whereas with reference to the bodies, because there are multiple, the plural Dehaha is used. Who can be destroyed? In one stroke, three facts have been conveyed here. One is that the bodies are many and Atma is one. Secondly, Atma does not come to an end and is behind every Sharira. Thirdly, Atma cannot be destroyed. This being so, whom can you kill? You can only kill something that is subject to destruction. The destructible alone is destroyed. The one that cannot be destroyed is the real person, you, he or she, the I, the Atma that is always there. Therefore, do what is to be done. Fight. Yudhyasva, Krishna told Arjuna. What Arjuna had to do at the time was to protect the Dharma by fighting this war. A war was at hand and he had to fight because this was his Dharma as a Kshatriya. So I repeat these two paras. Who can be destroyed? In one stroke, three facts have been conveyed here. One is that the bodies are many and Atma is one. That is ime dehaha and nityasya sharirinaha. So Atma is singular and dehaha is plural. Secondly, Atma does not come to an end and is behind every sharira. Thirdly, Atma cannot be destroyed. This being so, whom can you kill? You can only kill something that is subject to destruction. The destructible alone is destroyed. The one that cannot be destroyed is the real person. You, he or she, the I, the Atma that is always there. Therefore, Do what is to be done. Fight, Yudhyasva, Krishna told Arjuna. What Arjuna had to do at the time was to protect the Dharma by fighting this war. A war was at hand and he had to fight because this was his Dharma as a Kshatriya. There are two types of destruction, Nasha. One is destruction in a relative sense. He is destroyed because she walked out on him. This is not real destruction. It is figuratively used here. A person who has terminal cancer is destroyed, more or less. Although the final rites may not yet have been done, we say the person is finished, his life is over. Then, when it is literally over, when the person has died, there is another type of destruction. We have thus total destruction and relative destruction. Similarly, there are two types of eternity, relative and absolute, in order to point out that which always is and is never destroyed at all. Two words are used in this verse, Nitya and Anashi. Both words mean that which is absolutely free from any form of change or death, and therefore absolutely free from time, timeless. There is also another adjective used here, aprameya. Prameya means that which is to be known, that which can be known. The word, the knower, pramata, gains the knowledge, prama, of an object, prameya, through a means of knowledge, pramana. Atma is said here to be aprameya, something that is not an object to be known. Any prameya, anything that is seen by you, any object that is available for your pramana as an object, drishya, is non eternal, anitya. Why? Because anything that is seen within the time space framework alone and is therefore anitya. You cannot say a pot, for example, is drishya and also nitya. To say that something is drishya seen means that it is changing every second. It is never the same because it is within time. And time is an element which keeps on effecting change. Any object, therefore, is never the same. It is always different. What is available for you to know is therefore always anitya and never nitya. Because Atma is not available as an object of knowledge, it is aprameya. But if Atma is not an object of knowledge, why are you doing all this study? What is the Gita Shastra for if it is not for knowing Atma? The nature of perception. Here Shankara enters into a short discussion which he picks up again in more detail elsewhere in the Gita. All these bodies are said to be anitya, subject to destruction, whereas Atma, the Shariri, who obtains in all bodies, is nitya. Atma is aprameya, not available as an object of knowledge. Anything subject to distinct understanding is called parichedya. Anything subject to distinct understanding is called parichedya. There are three words used with reference to our understanding of a distinct object: parichedya, parichedaka, and paricheda. Parichedya means that which is subject to limitation. Paricheda. Parichedaka is what brings about this paricheda. Through the sense organs, you perceive objects. The eyes, for example, perceive the form and color of an object. Therefore, the sense organs all become parichedakas, for varieties of parichedyas. What is a parichedaka? Is what brings about this paricheda. So there are three words which are used with reference to our understanding of a distinct object. Parichedya means that which is subject to limitation. That subject limitation is paricheda. And parichedaka is what brings about this paricheda. Paricheda is limitation. Parichedya is that which is subject to limitation. And parichedaka is that which brings about this limitation. So, therefore, through the sense organs, you perceive objects. The eyes, for example, perceive the form and color of an object. Therefore, the sense organs all become parichedakas for varieties of parichedyas. Each of the sense objects, sound, touch, form, taste, and smell, is distinct from one another. Therefore, parichedya. The form that the eye sees is parichedya because it is perceived as distinct from all other things. Therefore, any pramana which picks up a distinct piece of knowledge becomes parichedaka, and what is picked up is parichedya. So, any pramana which picks up a distinct piece of knowledge becomes parichedaka, and what is picked up is parichedya. Any object of knowledge that can be known in the form of a cognition, such as this is a pot, this is a cloth, this is a tree, this is a man, this is a woman, is parichedya because an object of knowledge is conditioned or limited in nature and perceived as such through the sense organs. Therefore, the sense organs become parichedakas and the objects are parichedyas. That which is not known in a determinate form as an object by all these pramanas is what is meant here by aprameya. That which is not known in a determinate form as an object by all these pramanas is what is meant here by aprameya. Brahman is not one more object that you see, like the pot or the tree. If Brahman is also parichedya, then it becomes one of the objects in the world and therefore becomes anitya. However, Brahman cannot be known by the pratyakshadi pramanas, the various means of knowledge that are available to us, such as perception, inference, etc. The etc. adi here includes words, shabda, meaning that the Veda is also a pramana. So Veda is also parichedaka. When the Veda is a pramana, then heaven, Swarga for example, is a prameya and therefore a parichedya. Knowledge gained by Shabda pramana is again determinate knowledge because heaven is not hell, earth, or this or that. It is a distinct object. Thus, there is limitation. If heaven is mentioned by the Vedas, then it means that it is something which can be known distinctly. Similarly, when you say punya, it is not papa. It is not produced by wrong karma. It is produced by right karma. In this way, we understand what punya is and what it does purely by the shabda, the word. Therefore, shabda is also a pramana, a means of knowledge. So let's just follow the train of thought and then, if required, we'll repeat this. Atma is not established by a pramana. If the Atma cannot be known even by Shabda, why then do you study the Gita Shastra? If it is not an object of knowledge for the Pratyakshadi Pramanas, how can Vedanta be a Pramana for the Atma? Addressing this question, Shankara first says that Atma is not known by any Pramana, including the Veda, because it is not an object of knowledge. Thinking that Atma could be known through this Pramana, a person goes to a Guru, does a lot of service, and in the end of it, the Guru says that Atma is not known even through the Veda. Since the Guru teaches only the Veda, what is the use of all this? Naturally, such a person thinks it has all been a waste. He or she also thinks that the Atma is understood perhaps through the Pratyakshadi Pramanas. Shankara refuted this notion here by saying that Atma is not known by the Pratyakshadi Pramanas, including the Veda. Before you listen to the Vedanta Shastra, Atma must be there. The existence of Atma is not established by a Pramana like the Veda, nor can it be established by perception, Pratyaksha, or inference, Anumana. If the existence of Atma were to be established by any of the Pramanas, resulting in knowledge such as here is a pot, here is a table, here is the Swami sitting, etc., then we would be using perception, of course, but we would not be establishing the Atma behind the perception. Only when the knower is already established can there be an inquiry through a Pramana. So, before you listen to the Vedanta Shastra, Atma must be there. So, that means only when the knower is already established can there be an inquiry through a Pramana. So, Atma is already there. So, the Pramana is doing what? It is not establishing the Atma. Atma is irrespective of the Pramana. Vedanta Vichara inquiry can only be done when there is an Atma to inquire. If Vedanta were to establish the Atma, it would mean that until one inquired into Vedanta, Atma did not exist. This means you were not there. Who is it then that goes to Vedanta, which says that Atma is limitless? Moreover, who listens to this Vedanta? The Atma. The one who wants to know anything is the same one who can use any of the pramanas to inquire into what is to be known. Even before the pramanas are pressed into service for gathering such knowledge, there must be a self evident Atma. Therefore, the Veda does not establish the Atma as it does any other existent thing, heaven, Swarga, for instance. A Swarga that is unknown to me is made known to me by the Shastra. I come to know of something called Punya that is said to be dormant in a karma which can be invoked through the Shastra alone. Thus, we find these unknown things discussed in the Shastra as potentially existent things. Similarly, there are many unknown things in the world which we come to know through the various pramanas. A new disease, for example. Having come to know about it, we say the disease is. After discovering it, we look for its cause. Then, after finding the cause, we say the cause is. And the treatment for the cause is. After treatment, we say the side effects are. Like this, with the help of pramanas, we keep on discovering things that exist but which were so far not known. Although Atma is not available as an object of knowledge, it is not totally unknown. In fact, Shankara says that Atma is not something unknown to anyone. It is always self evident, Swataha Siddhaha, self established. No one's Atma is unknown. Everyone's Atma is known. Only then is the operation of the pramanas possible. The Atma is not established by a pramana. It is swatah siddha. So, finer clarity being given, because we tend to have this concept that Vedanta is the pramana for Atma. But then Shankara is so beautifully refuted. Atma is swatah siddha. There is, it is self-evident. You don't need a pramana to establish Atma. Then the Shastra is a pramana. Then the problem would be, what about the Shastra? If I already know the Atma, how can the Vedanta Shastra be a pramana? Here Shankara says that the Shastra is definitely a pramana. How? Revealing the existence of Atma is not what establishes the Shastra as a pramana. But the Shastra has the status of a pramana because it removes the wrong notions I have about Atma. Atma by nature is Param Brahma, and that Param Brahma is not known to us. The pramanas available to us are only good for knowing things other than ourselves. This Atma is already Swata Siddha, and it is this Swata Siddha Atma that is mistaken for a Jiva, a doer, Karta, an enjoyer, Bhokta, one who is happy one moment and sad the next, Sukhi and Dukhi. That I am a Jiva, an individual, means that I am someone who is limited, as good as the body, etc. This is the natural conclusion of every Jiva because of ignorance, avidya. The status of being a Jiva, Jivatva, has been superimposed upon the Atma. In other words, the seeking person is born of avidya. This is an error of self identity which only the Shastra can resolve. One's own pramanas are of no use here. The Shastra does not prove the existence of the Atma, it only removes the confusion. For this reason, it has the status of being a pramana, that is, it has pramanatva. It does not bring to your recognition the Atma as an object that is totally unknown, as it does for other unknown things like heaven, for instance. So,
So this
Atma is already
At-
known. Hmm?
Atma is superimposed by the Jiva, it says, right? The Jiva is like an
Jiva
individual.
is superimposed upon the Atma.
Okay, the thought that I, meaning like this giving it to the body, and this Rupa is the one superimposed, right? That Anatma.
Yes.
Okay.
Jivatva is superimposed upon the Atma. So, Shastra does not establish Atma, it only removes the confusion. When the Shastra says there is a heaven, heaven as an unknown thing is brought to your understanding. You understand that there is such a thing as heaven. When the Shastra says that this particular ritual will produce this particular result, it is definitely bringing an unknown thing to your recognition. That this ritual has this efficacy is not known to you by any other pramana. Therefore, the Shastra has the status of being a pramana by bringing to your recognition something that is totally unknown to you and that cannot be known by you through any other pramanas. But when it comes to the Atma, the Shastra has pramanatva only insofar as it removes all superimpositions upon the Atma. Knowledge is nothing but the removal of ignorance. It cannot be a superimposition upon ignorance. If ignorance is not removed, there is no knowledge at all. Ignorance being opposed to knowledge. Only the removal of ignorance is necessary. Ignorance of Atma is present, and the Shastra has the capacity to remove it, meaning that it removes all the confusion centered on Atma. But Atma is self evident. That is why there is confusion. The Atma is self evident, but that it is limitless is not known. Hence, all the limitations of the body, mind, etc., are superimposed on it.
Can you please read this paragraph one more time, Ramra?
Yes, I'm actually going to read the whole thing again because it was a train of thought that we'll need to follow.
Yeah, because
I will
it's
just finish even this one because
mm,
this part will be important in this train of thought. Atma is already known, but not as an object. If Atma were to be totally unknown, like heaven, you would not say that you are a Sukhi or a Dukhi or a Samsari. To say I am finished is possible only because you have concluded that you are a samsari. Therefore, the Atma I is already self evident. However, it is taken for something other than what it is, and the Shastra makes the necessary correction, thereby proving itself to be a pramana. Shankara quotes the Shastra saying that this Brahma Atma is self evident, aparoksha. That which is self evident is the Atma, Brahman. Everything else becomes evident to the self. In this verse, Krishna says that all bodies are subject to destruction, whereas Atma, the indweller of the body, is not subject to destruction because it is the subject, not an object, aprameya. This is the point here. Any object is subject to destruction, whereas Atma, not being an object, is nitya. Anything aprameya is nitya, and only one thing is aprameya, the swata siddha Atma. Therefore, Atma is not subject to time and thus not subject to destruction. Krishna concluded by saying, therefore fight Arjuna. Tasmat yudhyasva bharata. What does this mean? There is nothing for you to be sad about. Things that die, die. Things that are dying, die. Things that remain permanent, remain permanent. If Arjuna wanted to destroy Bhishma's Atma, he could not. Had he wanted to stop Bhishma's body from dying, he could not. Either way, Arjuna could not do anything. Therefore, what is to be done is to be done. Shankara says here that Krishna was not giving Arjuna an order to fight. That is not the point here. The meaning here was do not entertain the idea of withdrawing from this battlefield. What is the difference between this statement and an order to fight? There is a difference. Shankara says this was not a command that one should actually fight. It was not a command then. If it was not a command then, was it a request? No. Arjuna was already prepared to fight. He had come with his entire armory, but then found himself obstructed by sorrow and delusion. He was shoka moha pratibandha. That is why he became silent. He could not proceed because he was completely paralyzed psychologically and emotionally for various reasons. Therefore, he was no longer interested in fighting and turned his attention to something else. All that Bhagwan was doing here was removing the sorrow and delusion that were the obstructions, pratibandhas. Afterwards, if the fighting was to be done, then it was to be done. Therefore, Yudhyasva was not a command. It was only asking Arjuna to do what was to be done. It was only a restatement of what he was planning to do. Bhagwan does not ask people to fight each other. Gita Shastra, Shankara states, is not a pravritti Shastra like the Karma Kanda, which enjoins people to perform various rituals and other actions. It is a Nivritti Shastra, Moksha Shastra. To have asked Arjuna to fight would have been a pravritti shastra, whereas the nivritti here is the removal of the cause of samsara, sorrow and delusion, which is ignorance.
So the last line was really nice, right? The nivritti is to remove the sorrow and the uh,
Yeah, remove the sorrow and delusion, which is ignorance.
yeah.
Let me
So there's that.
completely,
Yeah,
yeah,
you
go ahead.
wonder why the Bhagavan Krishna is trying to do this because it's two different things. You know, the karma is the fighting, whereas the but underneath it, he what is preventing, like preventing him to fight that obstruction, pratipantas, nicely explained here. Um, so that tells you that how the Gita was born. Hmm. So they that lifestyle of pravritti and nivritti is brought in here nicely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What we'll do is I will just finish this, remove the next few paras, and I will read this whole uh, right from the beginning one more time. Okay? Removing the obstacles to knowledge. The Gita Shastra is meant to remove the ignorance which is the cause for samsara, consisting of shoka and moha. This should be understood well. It was sorrow and delusion that clouded Arjuna's mind, and for that alone the Gita Shastra was given by the Lord. Therefore, Krishna was not asking Arjuna to fight. Arjuna was already fighting. He was simply saying that Arjuna should do what was to be done. In other words, he was saying, don't give me these kinds of arguments in order not to fight. Suppose someone were to say, I will not take care of my child because it takes so much time to take care of a child. It consumes too much of my personal life. I want to pursue Atma, and to take care of this child will take 17 years, perhaps longer. I cannot wait for moksha. If such a person were to go to Krishna and Krishna happened to teach the Gita, he or she would be told, take care of your child. Or if a man were to tell Krishna that he wanted to get rid of his wife so that he could become a sannyasi, or that he wanted to become a sannyasi in order to get rid of her, he would be told not to use sannyasa for this purpose. There are smaller solutions available. And if this man thinks that by getting rid of his wife he will become a sannyasi, Krishna would say, I am sorry, such an idea is quite useless. It will not work. You had better take care of your wife. Arjuna had been talking to Krishna and they happened to be in the battlefield. Therefore, the expressions like fight and get up are only contextual. Krishna was not interested in a battle as such, he was only interested in dharma. He was not interested in engaging anyone in a fight. We should not think the Gita says that I should fight, therefore, I am going to fight it out. That is not what was said here. That the situation may amount to a fight is one thing, but removing sorrow is the real issue. There are some points in the Gita, like this one, that are important to understand well because they are areas where people often misunderstand the intended meaning. So beautifully, Swamiji and Shankara have interpreted this verse. So I will actually go back to verse number 18 one more time.
So
Actually,
reading about Atma, right? That part is before this.
yeah, actually, this starts from here. We did this yesterday. I did a repeat in the beginning.
Mm.
Antavanta ime deha nityasyokta sharirinaha anashino prameyasya tasmad yudhyasva bharata. So, these bodies of the embodied one, the self, which is not subject to change, which is indestructible, and which is not available as an object of knowledge, are said to be subject to end. Therefore, O descendant of Bharata, fight. So then we saw how the Sat Vastu is indestructible, whereas the Asat is destructible, is subject to destruction, right? So, and then we saw the physical body is mithya. All this we read yesterday. I will skip this now. So basically, why the argument was because Asat is dependent upon the Sat. Will not the Asat also gain the attributes of the Sat? So will not Asat also be indestructible? Shankara says, no, because there is no association between Sat and Asat. Association can be there when there are two objects of the same order of reality, like the string of roses and the rose. So that string, after the string of roses are strung into it, still has the smell of the roses because they are of the same order of reality. Whereas Sat and Asat are of different orders of reality, like the pot and the clay. So there is no association possible between pot and clay. There is only one thing here, clay, which is Sat. Therefore, Asat cannot gain indestructibility by association with the Sat. So, for instance, the rope and the snake. There is no association between the snake and the rope. It is only a confusion, it is only a superimposition. So, the rope is, but the snake is destroyed. The idea, the notion of the snake is destroyed moment that confusion is removed. So you cannot say Asat is therefore indestructible. Asat is subject to destruction. The physical body is mithya. Now we also saw this. What is the physical body? Is it the DNA? Is it the cells? Is it the flesh, blood? What is it? So therefore, it is a combination of all this put together. It is therefore dependent on something. And anything by definition that is dependent on a cause is asat, and therefore the physical body is mithya. So this part I will read from again. So who can be destroyed? In one stroke, three facts have been conveyed here in this sloka. One is that the bodies are many and Atma is one. Secondly, Atma does not come to an end and is behind every Sharira. Thirdly, Atma cannot be destroyed. This being so, whom can you kill? You can only kill something that is subject to destruction. The destructible alone is destroyed. The one that cannot be destroyed is the real person, you, he or she, the I, the Atma that is always there. Therefore, do what is to be done. Fight, yudhyasva. Krishna told Arjuna. What Arjuna had to do at the time was to protect the dharma by fighting this war. A war was at hand and he had to fight because this was his dharma as a kshatriya. So there are two types of destruction, nasha. One is destruction in a relative sense. He is destroyed because she walked out on him. This is not real destruction. It is figuratively used here. A person who has terminal cancer is destroyed, more or less. Although the final rites may not yet have been done, we say the person is finished. His life is over. Then, when it is literally over, when the person has died, there is another type of destruction. We have thus total destruction and relative destruction. Similarly, there are two types of eternity, relative and absolute. And in order to point out that which always is and is never destroyed at all, two words are used in this verse, Nitya and Anashi. Both words mean that which is absolutely free from any form of change or death. and therefore absolutely free from time, timeless. There is also another adjective used here, aprameya. Prameya means that which is to be known, that which can be known. The knower, pramata, gains the knowledge, prama, of an object, prameya, through a means of knowledge, pramana. Atma is said here to be aprameya, something that is not an object to be known. So we have four words here. What are they? The pramata, knower pramata, gains the knowledge, prama, of an object, prameya. So prameya is an object, prama is the knowledge, and pramata is the knower. How? Through a means
Means
of
of
knowledge, pramana.
knowledge. So pramata, prameya, pramana. Mm. We get into the all the time this meanings.
Yeah. So
So
pramata is
pramata
knower.
is the knower, and prama is the knowledge. Prameya is the object of the knowledge, and then the pramana is the means of knowledge.
Correct.
You remember the flower example Nana gave
Yeah.
there, pramata, pramana. Mm. Uh,
So Atma here is said to be aprameya, something that is not an object to be known.
object to be known, okay. Not object to be known, aprameya. Mm.
See, the problem why we think Atma is something to be known is because everything in the world we see is a
Oh, I see.
prameya.
It's an object. Okay, so
And we think of everything as an object, no?
right.
Whatever we see, we perceive through the senses.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Then we think, oh, maybe Atma is also a prameya, something to be known, an object to be known.
Yeah, in Vishnu Sahasranama, this comes aprameya, one of the names for the god.
So, Atma is aprameya, and the following paragraphs are all there to establish how Atma is aprameya. Any prameya, anything that is seen by you, any object that is available for your pramana as an object, drishya, is non eternal, anitya. Why? See, in one stroke, he said everything that is seen by you is anitya. Because anything that is seen within the time space framework alone,
It's impermanent.
anything
Mm.
seen is within the time space framework alone and is therefore anitya.
Mm.
You cannot say a pot, for example, is drishya and also nitya. To say that something is drishya seen means that it is changing every second. It is never the same because it is within time, and time is an element which keeps on effecting change. Any object, therefore, is never the same, it is always different. What is available for you to know is therefore always anitya and never nitya. Very important to understand that anything that is known, anything that is seen, is subject to, is within the time space framework, and therefore it is subject to change. And anything which changes cannot be nitya. Because Atma is not available as an object of knowledge, it is aprameya. But if Atma is not an object of knowledge, why are you doing all this study? What is the Gita Shastra for if it is not for knowing Atma? Basic question arises. Why are we doing all this? If Atma is not an object to be known. Right? So, what is the nature of perception? Here, Shankara enters into a short discussion, which he picks up again in more detail elsewhere in the Gita. All these bodies are said to be anitya, subject to destruction, whereas Atma, the Shariri, who obtains in all bodies, is nitya. Atma is aprameya, not available as an object of knowledge. Anything subject to distinct understanding is called parichedya. So we've got some more terms being introduced here. Let's not get confused. This is anything subject to distinct understanding is called parichedya. There are three words used with reference to our understanding of a distinct object: parichedya, parichedaka, and paricheda. Parichedya means that which is subject to limitation. Any distinct object, that is parichedya. Limitation, paricheda. Parichedaka is what brings about this paricheda. So parichedya is an object, distinct object, which is subject to limitation. This limitation is called paricheda, and parichedaka is what brings about this limitation. So through the sense organs, you perceive objects. The eyes, for example, perceive the form and color of an object. Therefore, the sense organs all become parichedakas for the varieties of parichedyas. Each of these sense objects, sound, touch, form, taste, and smell, is distinct from one another and therefore parichedya. The form that the eye sees is parichedya because it is perceived as distinct from all other things. Therefore, any pramana which picks up a distinct piece of knowledge becomes parichedaka, and what is picked up is parichedya. It's clear, right? So this much is clear. Any object of knowledge that can be known in the form of a cognition, such as this is a pot, this is a cloth, this is a tree, this is a man, this is a woman, is parichedya because an object of knowledge is conditioned or limited in nature and perceived as such through the sense organs. Therefore, the sense organs become parichedakas and the objects are parichedyas. That which is not known in a determinate form as an object by all these pramanas is what is meant here by aprameya. So, Atma
Parichedaka.
is aprameya
Yeah.
in the sense that it is not a distinct form, it is not a determinate form that can be known by any of these pramanas.
Parichedakas is a which perceives the objects. Parichedakas. Parichedyas, the objects of perception.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, we'll stop here today and tomorrow.
Oh, we didn't finish this. You already read it one
Right from
time.
the beginning.
Right? How much more we have?
So we will let's reflect on all whatever little we've understood or whatever we've understood. Let's just that, and then we'll meet up tomorrow.
Yeah. So Atma is not a known object. That's named. I mean, that is named as Aprameya Nitya. Nityasya, right? Nityasya.
Yes.
eternal and indestructible.
Anashi. It's Anashi, not destructible.
Mm,
Nitya, it is eternal.
mm,
And it is Aprameya. There are three words, terms used here. Because it is Svata Siddha, it is self evident.
right. But
The
what is
only
the other
thing
one?
that is there,
Uh-huh. What is the other one you said? Aprameya,
Anashi,
Anadi. Okay. Beginning,
Anashi. Anashi is non destructible.
non-destructible. Oh, okay. I thought Anadi is like beginningless.
Not Anadi, this is Anashi.
Anashi.
Nasha is destruction, Anashi is
Oh,
indestructible.
Anashi. Okay, okay, got it. Okay, Anashi.
Anashi.
Mm.
So it is because it is Svata Siddha, it
Swata.
is self evident.
Oh,
The
Swata.
only problem is that there is confusion,
Mm.
shoka and moha.
Mm-hmm.
This is why we need the Gita Shastra to remove the shoka and moha.
The superimposition of the jiva and
Mm.
the. Mm. So basically, it is unveiling the that ignorance.
It's
The
unveiling the knowledge, it's removal of the ignorance.
removal of the ignorance.
Your knowledge is already there, it is there, evident.
Right. Knowledge is there, but here that is covered by this confusion, like you said. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. So we'll conclude here and continue tomorrow.
But you said one quick question about the knowledge, right? I mean, it's not known by, I mean, it is self evident. You don't need knowledge to know it.
Right. Uh-huh. But
But
the
then
fact,
we are seeking the knowledge, right?
because you say, I am miserable, I am sad, I am this, I am that. So,
Right. Yeah.
bound, you're limited by time and space.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is happening is that the I, which is limitless, which is anashi, which is eternal, nitya, aprameya,
Mm-hmm.
is superimposed by something else. And that something is ignorance, that is born. That karta, bhokta is born out of ignorance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And therefore, Shastra is a pramana. Shastra is a pramana not to establish the Atma as an object. No, it is Atma is already there. What Shastra does, what Gita Shastra does, or any Vedanta Shastra does, is only to remove the ignorance, is only to
Ignorance, yeah.
remove
Mm.
the confusion.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot therefore negate. So, why are we studying? Is a question asked in the beginning. So,
Mm.
if Atma is already known, established, then what is the use of Shastra? What is the use of Gita? What is the use of Vedanta? So that's an objection raised. And in order to clarify that, how Shastra is a pramana, all the other paragraphs that are said, is because we are reeling in that confusion.
Mm. So the way they explained about pramana, basically to understand whatever we are seeing is just the objects, but it's differentiating from that what aprameya, like, so trying to understand what is aprameya. Prameya is the object of the knowledge, but aprameya is not a subject. There's no, it's not an object.
Yeah.
So elaborately explained and then trying to extract the knowledge is,
No, yeah, it's important.
yeah, wow, so many words, right? So many that we learned today. Nice. Oh my god, thank you, Dr.
Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.
Take a day. Thank you.
We'll meet up tomorrow.